Florida. Today we're looking at kicking accurately in rugby. The same 3 stages as always before I put myself through a final challenge with a prize or forfeit depending on how I do. So stick around to see what they are. Let's go.
And the doctor is in the house.
Our real life example is from the Women's World Cup, and it's a masterclass in punishing a loose kick by England's Abby Dow. She catches it in midfield and has the rugby IQ to know that the winger is chased and there's not enough time for the fullback to get across. She accelerates towards the corner. She keeps her chest low over the ball as she kicks it, which helps drill it into the corner. It's a wet, slippery day, so she knows there's a good chance it's going to roll out into touch. This is a 50-22, which is a rule borrowed from Rugby League's 40-20. And if you kick it from inside your own half and it bounces out in the opposition's 22, it's going to be your ball. So Abby's looking for further opportunities as the world-class player she is. She throws it in and they do score a try, but this is later disallowed as it's not on the mark. But an excellent piece of skill from a world-class player. Start with your hand grip. Let's break down the skill. I've got 3 phases for you today. The first one is the drop. The key word is consistency. Can we present the ball to our foot in the same way again and again and again? First of all, looking at the grip. You can hold it in any way you want, at the top, at the side, at the bottom. Just remember, can you do it consistently? Personally, I like to have my hand, which is going to place it on the side of the ball, my thumb pointing to the tip, my little finger pointing to the bottom, and I pay particular attention to my thumb and my finger next to it for the grip. So as long as I can feel those for as long as possible on the ball, I know it's going to be consistently dropped. The second is making sure that we're not dropping in our center line, but over the foot that we want to kick. So I'm right-footed, so I'm going to my right hip. And finally, we're looking to drill these balls when we're being accurate, so we don't want loads of height, so we're looking to drop the ball from below our hip. If we drop from up here, we're going to put too much height on it and it's going to be less accurate. The second phase is the swing itself, and a couple of key points when we're looking to be accurate. The first is being able to keep our chest up nice and tall and not hunched. If we hunch, we're not going to be able to generate as much power. Our chest up nice and tall, but slightly leaning forward. You might have heard this called chest over the ball. This will allow us to keep it low and drilled, which will be more accurate when we're looking for things like pinning the ball into the corner. The second is generating the power with our swing. So first of all, the majority of power comes from the swing through our hip, and then the last acceleration from our knee is what helps us get a nice clean connection. We're looking for a solid ankle and connecting with the tip of the ball with the knuckle of our foot. This is going to give us as much accuracy as possible. And the final stage of the kick is our follow through. So we want everything going towards the target. So our leg as we kick through, our hips, our shoulders, and our momentum going after the ball. All of these together give the ball the best chance of going where we want to. If we start swinging our leg off to either side or twisting as we're kicking, we're going to add inaccuracies and you'll see it straight away in your kicks. Right, let's look at some drills, starting with ones for beginner. I've made a 10-meter channel going down the pitch by putting cones on the 5 and the 15-meter lines. We're trying to keep this ball in between there as we kick. The blue rectangle is where we need to kick from, and is to encourage us to stay straight and follow through towards the target. If you're a beginner like Luke, I want you to start with a football. Yes, if you're new, I'd say start with a football. It's a bit more forgiving due to the shape, but look at the exact same points as we just discussed. So dropping the ball over the foot we're kicking with, nice consistent grip so we can present it to the foot in the same manner, chest up but over the ball and looking to keep it low. So just set yourself up on the blue cones, and all we're looking to do is walk straight, 1, 2, and kick it down the middle. We're looking to keep it between the 5 and the 50-meter line. You can gradually get longer and longer as you get more comfortable. Beginners, once you're happy with the football, you can move on to a rugby ball. One thing I probably didn't mention well enough in the tutorial was the positioning of the rugby ball. For accuracy, I want it to spin end over end. It's going to give me most control. And to do this, I want it up, slightly tilted forward, so it allows us to hit the tip of the ball and make it spin backwards. So exactly the same drill for the beginners. Once you're happy with the rugby ball, set yourself up, and we're looking to go from 2 to 1 and just kick it straight down the line, keeping it between the 5 and the 15. Nope. So set yourself up 2 to 1. Looking for the knuckle of the ball. Pretty straight down the 10. Moving the drill on to the intermediate level. So I've narrowed the channel that we're kicking down, so cones on the touchline and the 5 meter, so it's half the width as before. And then I've also set up boxes, which we're gonna aim for, getting progressively further away. So if we look at how these are set up out here, a red box for 5 meters, a white box for 5 meters, and a blue box for 5 meters. And nice and simply, we just want to come and set ourselves up. We need to, in our own head, pick which box we're going for and try and stick the ball in. Going for the red. Nice, good kick, Luke. The white this time. And finally the blue. I think I got it. Right, the camera's just about made it and we're moving on to the advanced drill. Simple setup, but a difficult skill to execute. We're kicking at the side of the post. We're gonna start about 20 meters away and we're just looking to see if we can drill the ball and hit the post. Like so. So that was generally my first go. As I turned, I just said to myself, I got a good feeling about hitting it. And I think it just shows this positive reassurance of yourselves can make massive differences with your skills. Genuinely give it a go. It will really help. Once you're happy at about 15-20 meters, just keep moving back 3 to 5 meters at a time. Even when it gets longer, don't worry about the distance. Just stick to the principles of the skills. Things like having a good consistent drop and a solid swing and follow through. Nope, that wasn't the one. Right, setting up 2 to 1. So there's a wind coming right to left. Nice, that was straight and drilled, just a little bit high. These posts in Hong Kong are actually ridiculous how short they are, but for a drill like this, probably quite useful to promote you kicking it nice and low. So I'm just gonna have a go with the rest of these 3. Oosh, straight as a dart. Oosh, just the back post. Let's hit a few more of these. It's a nice one, they're going straight and then the wind is just coming and taking them. Oh, no way. That was the back post. Back to the nets. 2 meters off again. Yes, it's the challenge, and today I'm going to be replicating Abby Dow's kick from the real life example. Catching behind the 10 meter, kicking before the halfway, looking for a 50-22. 10 kicks, 10 normal points up for grabs. However, each time I make a 50-22, hopefully, I'll be able to replicate the pass that she did, i.e. out to the 15 meter line for an extra half a point. So to pass, I'm looking for 6 or more points. And the prize, I'm gonna keep it pretty chilled today, just go over the road, have a nice chilled coffee in the sun. However, the forfeit if I fail, so 5 or below, I am looking at the bear crawl, 100 meters. Pete asked to see this again in one of the earlier videos because I didn't get to do it, so I've brought it back as the forfeit. If you have any more ideas for forfeits or prizes or challenges, let me know in the comments. So 5 or below, I'm doing a 100 meter bear crawl. I can only stop on the 22 halfway, furthest 22. If I break it at all, I'm back to the start. Really don't want to do that. Let me set up the cameras and we'll get straight into the challenge. Right, here we go. there we go, first one. Oh, just missed it. Oh, there's 1 point to start us off. 1 from 1, but that was a hanging kick. Rep 2. There we go, that's 2. Oh, exactly the same spot, just behind again. Oh, that's 2 points. Right, 2 from 2. Let's go for the third one. Go on, bounce. Get there. Yes, there we go. Right, I've got to make one of these. There we go. Right, lovely. That's 3 from 3 kicks. Sit you back up. So 3 from 3, 7 more. Go on then, bounce good. Yeah, there we go. Nice, and again. Oh, just missed. Come on, Lukey. Right, 4 from 4. Let's go for 5 here. That was whiffing. 4 from 5. I need to get 2 more. That's a good one. Oh, that's a horrible bounce. 4 from 6, 4 more. I need to nail at least 2 of these. That's the one. Yeah, there we go. Right, this to make it 5.5. There we go. Good stuff, that's 5.5. Right, I think I've got 2 balls and I just need to nail 1 more. Right, here we go, I think 2 more. We gotta nail 1. No, straight out. Right, last one. Go on, kick on. Lovely, right in the 5. There we go. Right, let's emphasize it here. No. Jeez. Right, that's 6.5 points. That's going to be a pass. I'm going to collect everything in and see you over the road for a coffee. Whew. Quite a few people have asked where this pitch is, and it's called Happy Valley Racecourse in Hong Kong, and I highly recommend visiting it if you're in town. Anytime I get to film here in the sun, I just love that my job brings me outside so much, and it's one of the key founding principles of my new clothing line, Borrowed Clothing. If you'd like to get yourself a t-shirt, it really helps support the channel, and you can head to thisissevens.com to get them. I headed over the road to a coffee shop called Sinbad. It was a really nice coffee and also a great place to people watch from. Diolch yn fawr for watching, and I'll see you next week. Remember to subscribe.